Welcome to the second part of the Palestinians and the Philistines. Who are the Palestinians? And in the first show, I went to the different parts to show who the Philistines really were. And I said were because they do not exist anymore. They are an ancient people who are the enemies of Israel. Today I want to show you who the Palestinians are, why they were called Palestinians, and to show you why they are not descendants of the Philistines, as some would have you to believe. So the Palestinians, who are they? Basic answer, they are Arabs. Their DNA can be traced back to Syria, Iraq, and Jordan. You can know them by their accent or their family names. Basic truth. Basic truth. And I say basic truth. Truth should not be referred to as basic, but in today's world, we got to call it basic truth because people do not want to hear the truth. Foundational truth, basic truth, things that everyone should know. And today, we have those who are acting as if truth is subjective. It is not. You and I could be wrong on one issue if we share the same or have different disagreement. But if we have two different views on one issue, we both cannot be right. One of us could be right and one of us could be wrong, or we both could be wrong. But because truth is absolute, we cannot have two different opinions on one topic and both of us are right. For example, we hear today that, how could Jesus Christ be the only way? There got to be many ways to heaven. But at the same time, the same person will say, I believe that Jesus is a wonderful prophet, a good teacher. They might not believe he's God, but he's a wonderful teacher, a great prophet. How could that possibly be? How could he be a wonderful man, a great teacher, when he said, I am the only way to the Father, the only way. I am the only door, the only truth. No one can come to the Father but through me. Since that is a truth claim made by Jesus, and it is an absolute claim made by Jesus, if we said we believe Jesus is a good man or a righteous man, a holy man, we cannot then say that there are more than one way to God. Cannot. It contradicts your confession about Jesus Christ. So the Palestinians, who are they? Basic answer again, they are Arabs, Syrians, Jordanians, and Iraqis. Basically, that's where you will find their DNA traced back to. Now, here is one truth, one fact. There was never a time in the history of the world when there was a Palestinian state. There was never a time in the history of the world when there was a Palestinian state. Some claim that the Jews who came back to the land stole the land from the Palestinians. In the first show, I told you that I do not believe that there is a people group called Palestinians. They're Arabs. But some claim the Jews came back in the land and they stole the Palestinians' land. Is that true? The truth is that when the Jews returned from different areas from all over the world, as God had promised he would, For those of you who do not believe the word of God, this was prophesied. God said, I will gather them from every nation and bring them back, not to the United States, but to Israel. I will revive their language and their currency, and they're going to come back into the land in masses, and even of the birth of the nation that will be born in one day. All of these were prophesied hundreds of years before these things happened. Thousands, actually, not just hundreds, thousands of years before these things happened. So the Jewish people came back to the land and occupied mostly the barren land of Israel. Now, the land of Israel is linked to the Jewish people to whom God gave it. When the Jews are in the land of Israel, the land flourishes. But when the Jews are outside or scattered from the land becomes barren. Mark Twain went there and he confessed this truth, that it was a wasteland, a land of desolation. Not many people, he said, lived there. You could walk for 30 miles and you don't see a village or hardly any people, Mark Twain said. This was in the 1860s. So the Jews came back and occupied the barren lands of Israel. To prove this point, that Israel were living in the barren years of the land of Israel, King Abdullah of Transjordan, who dedicated his effort to destroy the Jewish state, wrote this in 1946, 2 years before Israel became a nation. And I quote, this is from King Abdullah of Transjordan, an enemy of Israel. I quote, I was astonished at what I saw of the Jewish settlement. They have colonized the sand dunes, drawn water from them, and transformed them into a paradise. End of quote. This was from an enemy of Israel, of the Jewish people. So what he said? They have transformed the barren lands and make them into paradise. They did not come in and occupy a land that looked like paradise. No, they were occupying the sand dunes, the barren lands, but they transformed it again, following what the prophecy God said would happen when they returned to the land. If God said it, it's not good as done. It's already done. If God said it, it's because it's already done. Nothing can change. The counsel of the Lord, the purpose of God, standeth sure forever. No one can change the plan, the counsel that God decreed. One of the most often quoted and claim made by willful, ignorant people are those who are plainly anti-Semitic. Of course, is that Israel stole the land. Here is a name to remember, or not. Hajj Amin al-Husseini. Hajj Amin al-Husseini. Who is he? He was the distant cousin of Palestinian Liberation Organization founder Yasser Arafat. He was one of the founding fathers of Palestinian nationalism, praised by current Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas as a hero and a pioneer. He called this man a hero and a pioneer. We're going to see who this man is. Husseini was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. He was actively involved in most of the, not just most, you could say all of the happenings in Palestine, so-called. until 1948 and beyond. After the British Mandate of Palestine, he launched attack after attack against the Jewish state. He called it, listen, the Arab Revolt, not the Palestinian Revolt, the Arab Revolt. Again, I said there's no such thing as a people group called Palestinians. He called it the Arabs' revolt, not the Palestinians' revolt. Great Britain wanted to find out why he was attacking the Jews. In 1936, Britain sent a delegation to investigate what was going on. It was called the Peel Commission, P-E-E-L Commission, or more formally, the Palestine Royal Commission. It was this team of men that recommended the planned partition of Palestine, so-called, to the League of Nations, or what we know today as the United Nations or the UN. These men are the ones who recommend the partition of the land of Israel to the United Nations. The team was headed by Lord Peel. At the hearing, Sir Laurie Hammond asked Husseini, this leader and founder of the Palestinian movement who were attacking the Jews, one of the members of this group that was sent by Great Britain to investigate, asked him whether the land the Jews occupied was taken by force. Because why are you fighting against them? Maybe, did they steal the land? Did they force anyone to and take over their land? So he asked him whether the land was occupied or taken by force. That was a question that Sir Laurie Hammond asks Husseini. Husseini's answer, in most cases the land was, listen, acquired. Hammond, I mean, forcefully acquired, compulsory acquisition, as land would be acquired for public purposes? Husseini, no, it wasn't. Hammond continued, not taken by compulsory acquisition? Husseini, no. Hammond, but these lands amounting to some 700,000 dunams were actually sold? Husseini, yes. But the country was placed in such condition as would facilitate such purchases. Hammond, I don't quite understand. What do you mean by that? They were sold? Who sold them? Husseini, landowners. Hammond, Arabs? He asked him, was they sold by Arabs? Husseini, in most cases, they were Arabs. Hammond, was any compulsion put on them to sell? If so, by whom? Husseini, as in other countries, there are people who by force of circumstances, economic forces, sell their land. So this enemy of the Jewish people testified that the Jews bought the land that they own from Arabs. Again, not Palestinians. There was no such things or people group called Palestinians. So the land was purchased. This is not the testimony of a friend of Israel. This is a testimony of one of the worst enemy of Israel, saying Israel, the Jews acquired the land. They purchased the lands from the Arabs. Why? Because the Arabs sought economic benefits by selling their lands. That is why they sold the land. This idea that the Jews stole Palestinian land can easily be filed away under the title fiction. As an extension of his hate toward the Jews in Palestine, Husseini became a Nazi collaborator. During World War II, the cleric served as an Arab ally and propagandist for the Third Reich in Berlin. In 1937, evading an arrest warrant for aligning himself as leader of the 1936 to 1939 Arab revolt in Palestine against British rule, he fled and took refuge in Lebanon. Afterward, he moved to Iraq. Then he linked himself with Nazi Germany and, of course, Hitler. He died in 1974 at the age of 18 in Beirut, Lebanon. How did the Palestinian name come about? In the year 132 AD, a Jewish revolt broke out in Jerusalem under the leader named Simon Bar Kokhba. Their opposition was against Rome and the emperor at the time, who was in the region fighting Adrian. The revolt lasted until 135 AD, roughly 3 to 4 years. In 135 AD, Adrian's army besieged Betar, and on the 9th of Av, what we call Tisha B'Av, the Jewish fast day that commemorates the destruction of the first temple, and also on the day when the second temple was destroyed. The destruction of the first and second temple happened on the 9th of Av. So in 135 AD, Adrian besieged Betar. Betar is roughly 5 miles south of Jerusalem. After a fierce battle, every Jew in Betar was killed. 6 days passed, we are told, before the Romans allowed the Jews to bury their dead. Hadrian renamed Judea and Samaria what is today wrongly called, the West Bank. Listen, Syria, Palestine. Let me repeat that. Hadrian renamed Judea and Samaria what is wrongfully called today the West Bank, Syria, Palestine. He did this as a means to erase the memory of the Jews from the land of Israel. He chose the name because of the ancient enemies of Israel, the Philistines. He intended to place over the Jews the same evil spirit that permeated the people that once tried to wipe them from the face of the earth. He named Jerusalem Aelia Capitolina. Palestine was never meant to be the name of a people group, but a geographical area, namely, again, Judea and Samaria. The United Nations, another enemy of Israel, and I say that not lightly, but because it is truth. The United Nations took the name Palestine and used it to cover the whole land of Israel. In other words, the whole Israel become Palestine. And anyone that lived in the land they were called Palestinians. Again, it was not, Adrian did not call the people Palestinians. He called Judea and Samaria. I want you to get what I'm saying. He called Judea and Samaria what is again wrongfully called the West Bank. Now, when we say the West Bank, we're not talking about the West Bank of Israel. It's not called the West Bank because it is the West Bank of Israel, because it's on the eastern side of Israel. So why is it called the West Bank? It is called the West Bank because prior to 1967, Jordan illegally occupied the land, and that, of course, is on the West Bank of Jordan. So it is the east side of Israel, it is the West Bank of Jordan. So Adrian intended to call that area Syria, Palestine. The United Nations took that name and translated and make it to be that the whole land of Israel is now called Palestine for political convenience. And we know how that is going today. You hear every day that the Jews stole the Palestinian land because now the whole of Israel now is Palestine, something that never ever existed before. Again, truth should never be subverted. For you shall know the truth, and the truth, only the truth, can set you free. I said the United Nations is an enemy of Israel. Yes, it is. They have passed without any rationality or any type of common sense, not even rational. Let's use the word common sense. Condemnation after condemnation after condemnation on Israel. The war that is going on in Gaza today, they find that the United Nations honor bags and the schools that they run teach the same hatred for the Jews as Hamas does. There's no distinction in what UNRWA stands for, which is the United Nations Organization Relief Program. I would say they're relieving these poor people of the truth. They're relieving them of the decency of having the truth being revealed to them, that they could make a proper decision. Anyone who lived in the land that the United Nations, not Adrian, the Roman emperor, but the United Nations gave the land of Israel the name Palestine. Adrian gave Judea and Samaria the name Syria, Palestine. So what I'm saying is, should be common, it should be common knowledge to everyone who seeks after truth, because it cannot be disputed what I'm saying to you. These are truth. But all of these things work together, because it's like putting a frog, they said, in cold water and turn up the fire and it slowly boils. This is how people with hidden agenda try to bring others into their fold through deception. I love the Jewish people because through them my blessing came. And when I see what happened just a few months ago, it breaks my heart. But I know God is in control, and what he allows, we don't know why, but he allows it for a purpose, and he will not allow the enemies to go further than the boundaries he sets. He that keepeth Israel neither slumber nor sleep. The Jews traced their heritage back to Abraham. Abraham. When Jesus Christ walked Jerusalem, he spoke and interacted daily with Jews. He came onto his own, John 1:12, the Jews. And his own receive him not, but as many as receive him to them gave you the legal right, the power, the authority to become the sons of God, even to them that believe it on his name. Jesus walked and taught. The disciples were all Jewish. They were in the land of Israel. You will not see me again, Israel, until you say, Baruch haba b'Shem Adonai, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Guess what? This was said in Jerusalem while he walked down from the Mount of Olives to the Temple Mount, and they spread palm leaves, and he rode a donkey. He said, you will not see me again, Jerusalem, until this saying is repeated. Yes, Jesus Christ is returning, and is returning to the land of Israel, and particularly to Jerusalem, to fulfill all that has been prophesied.